Hi everyone. Today I'm very happy to have Dr. Kevin McIsaac here with us today to talk about data analytics and the types of problems that happen when organizations believe that they're doing data analytics and some of the ways that they stumble. Kevin, you've got a very interesting background in mathematics and data science. Could you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so my background is I started off doing a PhD in physics, theoretical quantum mechanics actually, and then went on to work for Wolfram Research for a number of years, the makers of Mathematica. After that, I transitioned into business roles. I've worked in sales and marketing, and in recent years I've been working in data and analytics, implementing advanced analytics for large companies.
Now, large companies is a very interesting issue here, because you and I were talking earlier and you were telling me about some of the scale that's now possible with new technologies. And we'll come back to the scale, but what was interesting is the really simple things that people stumble over. It seems to me that a lot of organizations, when they go to deploy next generation business intelligence services, they're not stumbling over the technology, they're stumbling over really the culture. Tell me a little bit more about that.
I think there's a bit of a disconnect between what business wants and what IT sets out to build. It's probably the big part of the problem. Business are looking for insights. Business just want to get insights about their business so they can make better decisions. You know, why are people churning and what can I do to stop that? What's the forecast of my sales, 12 months from now? What mix of marketing should I actually pursue to get the best result for my dollar? Where did my marketing budget go and what did I get for it in return? These are the kind of things that business actually wants to know. It's really straightforward. They want to get clear insights into their business so they can actually make some decisions. IT has a completely different set of concerns, which is, well, how am I going to build this? How am I going to manage this? How am I going to run this? The data is not clean. I need to fix that. And the biggest problems I see are actually the disconnect between what the business actually wants, which is insights, and what IT wants to do, which is to build a bunch of technologies to deliver something.
Well, what you've described there is great for an organization that knows what it wants. But my experience is that a lot of times when you start talking to senior executives, the impression is, if you throw data to us, somewhere in there will be a new insight. In other words, they're missing the innovation piece. They're missing the new ideas, the insights that they don't know.
And I think that's the point, right? The right questions. I never go into an interview assuming that they're interested in data, because they're not. I'll ask the whether it be part of the executive team or a manager or somebody who's actually does the job in the front line. What are the decisions you're trying to make? Tell me a little bit about your business. What are some of the business challenges that you've got? Where would you like an insight about your business that might help you make a better decision? And as soon as I start asking them about their business and about the insights they want into their business, it's remarkable. I was in a meeting with the COO of one of the banks, and we were showing him a dashboard, and he clearly was bored. And after about a minute of that, I said, look, let's just wrap that up. That's not of interest to you. I said, what's really a challenge to you? What would you like to know about your business that you can't get today? And he went, really simple. I would like to know what the refinance rate is by individual bank officer or broker network or by product or by postcode. And I said, why? He said, well, if I know that number for a set of brokers, I can stack rank them and I can see those with very low refinance rate, which is good, and I can learn from them. And I find the ones who've got very high refinance rates and find out why. And then I can actually either fix it or train them or move them on. I said, well, that's interesting. Why by postcode? He said, well, if I see that a particular postcode has got a very high finance rate compared to the others, I know that Bank of Queensland's chasing my business again this month. And, my experience, Joe, is there is no shortage of things that executives want to know about their business. Their challenge is they've been conditioned to believe that it's hard to get. And so they've stopped asking in many cases. I was talking to a colleague who ran analytics at Target in the US. And he actually made this comment. He said when he was able to actually break the backlog of his analytics projects by changing the way they delivered to be much more agile, what he found was he go ask people what they want, and they were really lowballed it. And when he actually asked them why they weren't demanding more, they went, well, we've just learned that you can't deliver. So we've stopped asking.
Now, typically when I see organisations in that path, you actually end up with a very big tension between the IT groups, the people who are saying we can do X, we can implement a data warehouse, a data lake, we can do certain, the technical side of it, versus what other external parties are saying they can deliver, people such as yourself. And there seems to be this almost a capabilities gap between the expectations, what the outsiders are claiming, and what the internal IT department believe that they can do. What's causing that tension? What's actually going on there?
So I think there's a couple of things there. One is the industry's changed a lot. The second thing is there's this concept called the competency trap. And what this means is somebody becomes competent in a technology or a process. Maybe it's, building an enterprise data warehouse. They know how to do that. They're really good at that. They've been doing it for, 5-7 years. But there are different approaches now that don't work, that are not done that way. The problem is you go and talk to somebody who's really competent in enterprise data warehouse, and they'll go, well, if I did it this way, I know how to do that in enterprise data warehouse. And this other stuff, I have no idea whatsoever. And so they become trapped by their competency. And just as we've seen, the mainframe was a great place to be competent, but people got trapped in that. And then it was PCs, and then people got trapped in that and still are to a degree, right? The thing with IT folks is they become really competent in technology. And we need that for delivery. But if you want somebody to come into the business and say, let's talk about what you want as a business outcome, you don't want somebody who's trapped in technologies. You want somebody who can go, hey, you want to know that refinance rate? Yeah, that would be pretty straightforward. I need to bring together these two different sources, and we could do that using a particular approach in a month. Now, then you've now got a problem of how do I go back to IT and say, we need to build something pretty quickly. And they're going to go, well, I've got this set of concerns about stability, security, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where you kind of run afoul. I think it's ultimately, it comes down to the CIO. And the CIO has to go, look, there are two modes of operation. There's the mode one, highly stable, highly available, highly accurate. And there are some things, there are certain classes of data and reports where that's essential. So I'll give you an example. Your finance an account that you have to publish. That has to be accurate down to the cent. But the good news is, yes, it's highly accurate, but I only change those things every couple of years. They're very small changes that get made, right? There are other things like customer churn, where, you know what, if you were accurate within 5%, you'd be thrilled. And there's some data that goes into that which is not clean. But you know what? If it was accurate within 10%, I'd be thrilled. And so then we have type 2 systems, or systems which are much more agile around the data. And the problem is everybody's trying to solve this problem with the old type 1 stuff. It's like, give me a year to build a data warehouse or a data lake and I'll fix it. It's like, you know what? In a year's time, that question won't be of interest anymore. So I think we've got to realize we've got to have two different ways of approaching things. We've got to have fast type 2 systems, and we need to have systems of record which are type 1 and highly stable.
So what recommendations would you give to a CIO or a CTO who's now starting to look at this and recognize that there are two very different operational models here? A great look there.
Yeah. Look, first of all, I would say, life's very hard in technology because we're caught between maintaining all the old stuff and doing, keeping the lights on and running that. And we've got to find a way to do this new stuff. My recommendation would be, to start with going out and doing some interviews with business leaders and finding out what are the key things that they want to know. So go and interview a bunch of these folks and ask them, stop asking questions about what data do you need, or are you happy with these reports, or, would you like a bar chart, or ask them real performance questions. Walk out with some use cases and also walk out with a sense of value. I mean, we put $1 value to that. We estimated that, the COO estimated that for every 1 point of refinance that he saved, 1%, it was $200 million worth of profit. I don't have to change it very much to make a lot of money, right? So you want to come out with kind of an estimate about what's it worth, right? So you can see that, You can walk out of these interviews with half a dozen use cases, maybe a scale of the benefit on a couple of them. And then what you do is you want to build a roadmap. You say, right, I've got 20 use cases, and you want a use case per page is how I like to do it. What is the problem? What does the solution from the customer's eyes look like? That we can see customer refinance rate by broker, blah, 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 and we can drill in and understand why. So understand what it is, what's the thing that they want to use, right? Maybe they're saying we want to be able to see what my customer churn looks like, and then put the most at risk and the most valuable customers at the top and hand that list to a bunch of agents to call, right? That's a solution. And you notice there's no technology in that. Come out with one on a page. What does that look like? What's the dollar value? A commitment from the actual business owner. If I had that, I could move the needle by 0.1%. That's worth $2 million in profit. Wow. And now I've even got measures of success for the project, right? Because I just look at, well, we're going to be measuring the churn rate, and we're going to measure whether it moves. And if we know if it moves 0.1%, we've made $2 million. So I can put all that on one page. I lay a bunch of those out. Then what I need to do is I need to look at, how do I actually service that? And how am I going to deliver the first use case in 6 weeks? And then maybe start incrementing on that. And then the second use case, maybe, 6 or 8 weeks after that, and another use case after that, and then keep incrementing on that. Not, that's great. Now let me go build a data lake and I'll be back in 2 years' time. It's literally got to be, I'll be back in your office in 4 weeks with a with a prototype of a minimum viable product. And in 6 weeks, you'll actually have a minimum viable product that you can use. So you have to figure out, what that looks like as a roadmap. Then you have to go, well, now I've committed to that. How can I possibly deliver that? And there are a bunch of things you've got to let go of. I mean, one of them is that data has to be perfect. Data cleanliness is about fit for purpose, not data is 100% clean or not clean. And the second thing you've got to realize is data cleanliness is not an IT problem. It's literally a business problem. Get it out of IT's hands, because otherwise we are we put the monkey on our back and we're stuck. So there's a whole bunch of those kind of considerations you're going to have to get past. I can't put my data in the cloud. Yeah, why not? Everybody else does. So there's a lot of sacred cows that would have to be slaughtered in order to be agile. And there'll be some systems that you can't do that to, the type 1, and there are some that you can. And as a CIO or as a head of CTO, your job is to figure out that path and then walk that path. This is actually really great. So I think it's got to be that. It's got to be this thing about, we've got to be more agile. We've got to really partner with the business. We've got to be able to change very quickly. And we've got to build and use systems which actually support that. And some of this stuff that we do today does, and some of the stuff does not. And we have to figure out which of those we've got to let go.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.